Welcome. This is the Late Late Show with BT, where views with security and law are being provided to you, the public. As you can tell, we've changed our format a little bit, and we're going to get started. So we're solely on doing a news radio style format right now. And we're going to begin with Melissa Petro. I had begun blogging about my sexual experiences as early as 2005, but I was outed in an even bigger way in 2010 when my image appeared on the cover of the New York Post with the headline Bronx teacher admits I'm an ex-hooker. That's when I began to realize my prejudices. Although being gay is not as stigmatized as it used to be, Aaron and I came of age before shows like Will and Grace, way before celebrities like Azealia Banks were discussing their bisexuality on Twitter. Aaron seemed too good to be true. Although we got along in every other way, I began to second guess our sexual compatibility. Aaron went down on me, and watching him suck the prosthetic was different, but not terrible. Even though lots of straight guys like to be pegged, trying the act brought my concerns about Aaron's sexuality to the surface. When we eventually did it, I had trouble getting into it and had no clue what I was doing. But he also liked that we had begun to explore other things. The sex we had after he tried them on was good, but in the back of my mind I felt uneasy. I was used to being the object of desire. I was used to being the girl. But being with Aaron challenged what that means. I began to question whether he was being honest and living an authentic life. It was a new experience for me to love someone so much that I wanted them to be happy, even if it meant going against what I wanted or desired myself. It's challenging to be yourself while letting the person you love be who they are, rather than insisting they be who you want them to be. But by remaining honest and communicative, we've been able to strike a better balance between his desires in bed and mine. So going back to it's challenging to be yourself while letting the person you love be who they are, rather than insisting that them be who you want to be. That is, I've learned that I've gotten to the point where it's not a challenge anymore. Um, Getting to that point was the challenge for me. Getting to the point where you allow other people to live their lives and go about have in their life who they want to have in their life, even if it's different in yours. Getting to that point was the challenge versus it being an ongoing challenge of reinforcing the belief. But that's been for me. Jennifer Goldstein. We know you want to put a little more effort into your hair and makeup for all the outdoor concerts, but there's an art to it. And this is regarding the No Feathers Guide to Festival Beauty. So there's an art to it. You want them to be a little messy, not like chignons or perfect ballerina buns, says Suave Professionals hairstylist. You're surrounded by these great musicians in an artistic environment, so why not make your own art? Said who recommends using eyeliner to hand draw designs. I think of it this way. Back in the day, the trends came from the disco scene. Then it was the club kids in the 90s, and now it's the girls at the festivals, he says. You can go throwback, where they're all smooth and seamless, or do new generation, messier braids that purposefully show the work that went into them, he adds. Nothing fast up an outfit faster than a hair accessory, be it a flower crown, head chain, or turban. So the tip sheets. Liquid liners with wobbly bristles make it harder to draw. Section your hair into ponytails for however many buns you want and then secure each with an elastic at the base. U-shaped pins are better for fine hair. Mix accessories like scarves or headbands with a little bit of hairspray before you put them on. For a seamless look, your hands have to be fully coated in a gel and cream mixture as you braid to keep everything smooth. And that's the tip sheet. The tip sheet for the Festival of Beauty with Jennifer Goldstein. So back with Jennifer Goldstein. They say a woman's hands reveal her age, but I never cared much about mine until this past winter, when a friend said they looked like they belonged to a corpse. Naturally, the brand is known for its hand cream, but its skincare is even more impressive. She gives the belly an extra squeeze and pronounces it blank, meaning no eggs, meaning no enzyme and no smooth skin. For today, anyway. Still with Jennifer Goldstein. In 28,500 is the approximate number of bristles that form the brush head, which is inset in the handle, meaning the tool is easier to clean. ABS is a type of high-grade plastic used in the handle's molded diamond grip, which makes the brush easier to hold. And 9 grams is the amount of steel used to weight the handle, so it's perfectly balanced with the brush head. And that's Revlon. And we are reading from Popular Science, May-June 2016, Red Book, October 2016, Marie Claire, April 2016, and Food and Wine, April 2016. Heather Furlow is bringing that dress-up dream to life with Memento, a red carpet-themed series that celebrates the brand's 20th anniversary and history of dressing in leading ladies like Halle Berry, Jennifer Lawrence, and Taylor Swift for major events. Pastel pinks and shiny hardware liven up the Borrowed from the Boys classic. Sling-backed or ankle-wrapped, sharp-toed flats walk the line between demure and daring. The bigger the platform, the closer to 70s heaven. So Erica says there's no city in the world that has a better nightlife than NYC. The beauty boss goes high energy at her New York cover shoot. Behind the cover, fashion. Enjoyed at your table. So Ray Al interviews Jamie Ritchie. Are there still any steals to be had? There's always value to be found, whether it's a vintage, a winery, or an area. What about the most expensive bottle you've ever sold? It went for almost $233,000 a bottle. For those who don't feel like spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on one bottle of wine, what would you suggest? People forget that Bordeaux under $25 can be a really good drink. And right now I have a bottle of Livingston. It's a white Zinfandel Livingston. Winery established 1933. So it's not $233,000, but it is something. So with Ray Isle, but I think it's clear that sommeliers are stars, at least if reality TV shows like On the Court and movies like Some Into the Bottle are any indication. So back with Ray Isle. Great restaurants always express a vision, and when it comes to the best new wine bars in the U.S., that's equally true. At Boston Select Oyster Bar, Michael Surfer is both chef and wine director. There's not a bottle on the list that won't match his impeccably sourced seafood dishes perfectly. Or they can open a bottle and settle in for the evening. By that, he means natural wines, the no sulfur, no additives, no intervention bottles featured at his instantly popular wine bar in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. The place feels a little like the basement rec room of the coolest family on the planet, hanging globe lights that recall the 70s vintage, Macintosh stereo playing The Clash's London Calling, a neo-Danish modern vibe. Chef food skews Italian Iberian and ranges from snack size, absurdly good escabeche style olives to substantial, rich Tajaran pasta with wok shrimp and chilies. It's worth finding cultured butter to make Jeremiah Stone and Fabian von Holtz rip on the classic French appetizer. It's slightly tangy and high in butterfat. Select in Boston is an oyster bar and a wine bar, but chef owner Michael Serpa thinks of it as a classic bistro, the kind where the proprietor is involved in everything, taking orders from behind the bar, picking the wines, even fixing the toilet. So I selected six best. That's how I got the name of the restaurant. And that was Select Oyster Bar. And by that he means natural wines. That was the Four Horsemen. Now let's cross. Outside of Burgundy, I never really found a place where I could try traditional Burgundian food with great Burgundy in a cafe-like setting, Les Closs owner Mark Bright says. Many are older vintages, from the 90s back to the 30s, that he brought over himself from France. Even for the rare wines, prices are only $50 to $75 above retail. At the Lunatic, the Lover, and the Poet in Chicago, tosses turn pieces of burrata into orgeat just after it's cooked so the cheese melts ever so slightly into the pasta. So if I mispronounce something, please be forgiving. And it was the Lunatic, the Lover, and the Poet, and that's in Chicago. And that was from Food and Wine. So I don't once I read out of it, I don't say which magazine I'm reading it from. But those are the four that we're reading from: Marie Claire, Food and Wine, Red Book, and Popular Science. Tiffany Mac Isaac, the chef owner of Washington, D.C.'s Buttercream Bake Shop. If you're having cravings for her peanut butter and jelly sandwich cookies, all you need to include in the ingredients is 5 tablespoons of unsalted butter softened, 1 stick of unsalted butter at room temperature, and a half a cup of creamy natural peanut butter. In another medium bowl, using a hand mixer, beat the butter with both sugars at medium speed until light and fluffy, about 3 minutes. Beat in the egg and vanilla, then beat in the dry ingredients in 3 batches, mixing well between additions. Scoop 24 1-inch balls of dough onto the baking sheets at least 2 inches apart. Bake the cookies for 10 to 12 minutes until the edges are light golden brown and the tops are slightly cracked. Rotate the baking sheets halfway through. Let the cookies cool for 10 minutes on the baking sheet, then transfer to a rack to let cool completely. Meanwhile, make the filling in a bowl using a hand mixer. Whip the peanut butter with the butter, confectioner's sugar, vanilla, and salt at medium speed until fluffy, about 5 minutes. And you will have Tiffany Mac Isaac's peanut butter and jelly sandwich cookies of her Washington, D.C.'s Buttercream Bake Shop. They look really good. Little chunks of peanuts on the cookie. 2 cookies sandwiched in between the peanut with the peanut butter and jelly sandwich in between. You might want some of Melissa Hamsley's, was with Melissa Hamsley's spring buckwheat noodle salad, where she spread the nuts in a pie plate and baked for about 5 minutes until lightly brown. To get her spring buckwheat noodle salad. David Keck from Camerata, Houston. This former opera singer has created an ingenious wine bar where Houstonians congregate for his daily changing by the glass list, and other sommeliers drop by to take part in tastings and study groups. Now you wonder, how do people get involved in this former opera singer? When I graduated from high school, I visited Vienna where my brother was living. I was 19 years old and totally charmed by the wine culture, sitting outside drinking super fresh wine all day with Wiener Schnitzel. His partner, being super gracious, said, "That's lovely, but if we're going to have this, we should open this," and brought out a cold roti. I bought a bottle and went back to my little hostel in Dijon with some cheese and bread, and I remember drinking that bottle and thinking, this is life right here. How to have the best wine year of your life. Quinlan Real included. Maybe you can't afford that cabin by the lake, but these rustic finds you can definitely spring for. Of them, the bright red color is almost as energizing as the strong coffee it brews. And that's $65. It goes for $65 a Le Creuset French press at williams-sonoma.com. Now with Jessica Press. The next spring, 15 freshman students from the Baltimore school who were at risk of failing enrolled in Sarah's new project, Thread. Success isn't defined as whether their student goes to college. It's about how well they've built connections. The grit, determination, and selflessness I needed to build this program I learned from Sarah. They've been instrumental to our ability to rapidly grow, said Sarah. Hungry girl Lisa Lillian and her apple cinnamon oatmeal bake. All you'll need are 3 cups of old-fashioned oats, 1½ tablespoon of chia seeds, 4 packets of natural no-calorie sweetener, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1½ cups of unsweetened vanilla almond milk, 1/2 cup of unsweetened applesauce, 1/2 cup about 4 large egg whites, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and 1 cup of finely chopped Fuji or Gala apple for the apple cinnamon oatmeal bake with Lisa Lillian, the hungry girl. Beauty secrets. Sally Beauty. Beauty anti-aging. Beauty services. Beauty test drive. Beauty steals. Beauty under 25 bucks. Nicole Lapin. I'm a strong believer that time is the one thing in life more valuable than money. Once it's gone, you can't earn it back. I find that a lot of apps that claim they can actually waste my time in my phone's battery life. So we have Acorns, Mint, and Level Money. With Acorns, this is how it helps you save. This is a better modern version of throwing your coins into a jar. It's automated, and foolproof. Mint, there are a lot of apps that will track spending, but I always come back to Mint because it's easy to use. And Level Money, how it helps you save. Most budget trackers account for month-to-month bills, loans, and savings goals with some accuracy, but the one-offs, your birthday, flowers, pet toys, can be tough to watch, and they add up. So those are different apps, and those are Nicole Lapin's views on those 3 apps: Acorns, Mint, and Level Money. But I was going to say that about you can't earn time back. That is more time is the one thing in life more valuable than money. Time. Tiffany Blackstone, the features director. I hope there's no Freudian meaning behind the fact that 2 of my favorite new books are about lives that have gone abruptly off the rails. They're both memorable, I promise. Jeremy Cook, Jeremy S. Cook. You could overcome the problem with a pricey speaker or some headphones, but that's the boring route. If you have an iPhone with speakers in the bottom, prop it up with a spacer. Still with Jeremy S. Cook, 3 projects that reinvent breakfast. To get the day started right, these makers have invented machines that shake up breakfast. Their outlandish appliances might not end up on your table, but they'll certainly whet your DIY appetite. And of them is a waffle-making robot. At the heart of the WaffleBot is a waffle iron, opened and closed by a motor on a wire and a custom valve that releases the batter. William Gerstle. But the timer couldn't control where the bombs dropped, so most fell in unpopulated areas. That amazing discovery inspired me to build my own fire balloon without the dangerous payload. Most inventions that die, the good and the bad alike, do so because of a lack of money. Heather Hansman. We depend on cows for food, clothing, and sometimes even insulin. Cattle, though, are expensive and inefficient. Each cow drinks a bathtub of water and emits 3 times that volume of methane daily. And speaking of insulin, now researchers at MIT are synthesizing a new form of insulin that stays in the blood and activates only when sugar levels are too high. Mark Sundin. In the downtown Fargo office of the startup BotLink, engineers, code writers, and executives huddled around me, thrusting a tablet to show off their app, an air traffic control interface that allows even the least skilled to fly a drone without crashing it into a plane. In the booming economy of drone technology, North Dakota has been an early and enthusiastic adopter. The State Department of Commerce pointed me to BotLink as an example of the vibrancy of the sector, so I followed the team of coders into the creaky elevator of their pre-war building and drove with them to a city park. But something wasn't meshing with the smartphone, so an engineer named Tandy bent over to shut it down. Before it could cross the lawn, the pilot detected that the app was not communicating with the drone. An earlier crash broke the antenna, so he landed the thing, manually packed it up, and we drove back to the office. Thanks to the shale oil boom, North Dakota's economy and population has led the nation in growth. The state leapfrogged Alaska to become our 47th largest. I stayed in a spanking new motel out by the interstate, and a cluster of similar motels plumped down like Monopoly pieces on freshly poured concrete. Then in 2014, the FAA began to issue special exemptions to existing regulations. By the time I got to Grand Forks, 664 companies across the nation have been granted exemptions. The figure has since reached 3,000 and continues to climb. My suspicion, he says, that by the end of the week, you'll be pretty enamored with the place. Sitting across from him, I stood by a plastic tumbler of Coke's that Sky Scopes palette, dressed in an Oxford shirt buttoned to the neck. Sleek and streamlined as a bottlenose whale, it is capable of flying all the way to Panama and back on a single tank of gas. I've launched an aircraft, gone home, had dinner with my wife, he said, then gone to sleep, come back the next morning and landed the same aircraft. Back at the tech site, Becklin had said privacy concerns will be handled by the courts. If you're not doing anything wrong, what's the big deal? Agreed a colleague. Two BotLink guys told me they piloted Predator drones from the Air National Guard base in Fargo, but weren't supposed to reveal specifics. This impenetrability was further tangled by a Gordian knot of agencies. The test site is not actually a brick-and-mortar proving ground with hangars and runways, but rather an amorphous entity mandated by the FAA in partnership with UND Aerospace, ND State University, ND Aeronautics Commission, ND Aviation Council, and the Adjutant General of the ND National Guard, but largely funded by the ND Department of Commerce, which also funds the Grand Sky Business Park. The test site is housed adjacent to, but not inside, UND's Center for UAS Research, Education, and Training, and both are connected by a tunnel bridge to the Center for Innovation, a project of Innovate ND, also partially funded by the Department of Commerce. Both the Air National Guard and Customs and Border Protection operate various types of Predators at the Grand Forks Air Force Base, where UND researchers have been developing a drone flight simulator. The more I asked, the less I learned. I eventually found out that the unarmed Border Patrol drone, introduced as an MQ-9 Predator B, was referred to by the USAF as the MQ-9 Reaper. North Dakota was beginning to feel more like the Pentagon than Palo Alto. Hefted a black case on the back of the car, wheels it across the gravel, and opened the lid, revealing the octocopter. He strained his spangly legs, tipped and red. Sky Scopes did not build the drone, they bought it online. Gaze alternated between the drone and a real-time video feed. He lowered the glasses and held up a hand to block the sun. In fact, since my visit last year, the BotLink guys said they perfected their software, quadrupled their staff of engineers, and have moved from glitchy prototype to actual app-controlled devices shipped to real customers. And that was with Mark Sundin. And that's it for our news. And we brought in a book section, or the book where we have been reading from the book, or a book. And we've been reading from Sandra Brown's The Alibi. So we read Saturday and Sunday on yesterday, which happened to be Thursday. And then we're ready for Monday on Friday. We're going to take a brief pause. So back to that statement about the only thing that's more valuable than money is time, because you can't earn it back and you can't get it back. Different than money. I would like to use my time a little bit differently sometimes. I haven't incorporated my fitness into it yet, and I've been thinking about not, and just accepting that I just don't exercise, you know. But I went ahead and did my Fit for Life, which is odd because I used to like this smoothie that was called Fit for Life. The store um, used to make it, but the store is no longer right now. It used to have a yogurt shop, and it would do a Fit for Life where you would have your fruits, your granola, a little of this, a little of that, and blend it up. And it was really good. Um, but now they changed the name and you can't find it anymore. So we are at The Alibi, and it's Monday. I'm sorry, your visit to Charleston hasn't been the best, Mr. Daniels. Are you feeling better? I mean, if you catch this lady and she turns out to be the one who killed that man, would I have to point her out at the trial? His white shirt was crisp enough to bounce with water, his necktie tightly knotted. The least you could have done was get stinking drunk last night and second guess your decision to break up with me. She asked the butcher to butterfly some pork chops she wished to stuff for Sunday dinner. She didn't return to the butcher for nearly an hour, he said. The butcher remembers delivering the chops to Sarah Birch just before his shift ended at 6:30. Leaving the other two to their speculations, Hammond wandered toward the bed. A book of sketches lay open on Daniel's lap, picturing what seemed an endless variety of eye shapes. Naturally, they're being questioned, Smilo answered with cool civility. If Smilo was digging, then Hammond knew the name of Preston Cross was lying out there like a buried treasure waiting to be disinterred. Hammond swallowed a sip of coffee that had suddenly turned bitter inside his mouth. Corporal Endicott made rapid pencil strokes against the paper in her tablet. So, question. What if we don't want to finish reading? So, what if it gets boring? What if we put enough time into it in the first one? Should we continue on with it? So, what I want to say is this show is going to do is Monday through Friday is what we're trying to go back to. So if it's on a Friday, we're not gonna come back with it on Monday unless it's something that's really holding our attention. So I'm gonna try to finish up this today. We're in Monday. Endicott consulted the drawing in the book, then replicated it on her own sketch. Endicott turned her pad toward Daniels to afford him a better look. Hearing Daniel's soft exclamation, they rushed to the bedside. They stayed behind to study the sketch and congratulate themselves. He remembered every minute detail, even down to the freckle beneath the chick's right eye. It had been already in need of attention when Hurricane Hugo rendered the building unsafe and unusable, forcing the move. This had to be a dream. It's a beauty mark. Given those limitations, it couldn't possibly capture the essence of the woman behind the face, but it had been such a close representation that there was no doubt Dr. Ladd had been seen near a murder victim's room shortly before placing herself in the path of someone from the county solicitor's office, specifically one Hammond Cross, who had himself been in Pettyjohn's company that afternoon. So he forced himself to confront a second point that seemed unarguable. Withholding her name from him hadn't been the flirtation he had mistaken it for. They had been together at the fair for at least an hour before he even thought to ask her name. Too good to be true. A trite but sound adage. What an idiot he had been not to recognize the carefully baited trap for what it was. But the fact of the matter was, it had never entered his mind to identify Alex Ladd. He was about to rebuke the secretary for disturbing him after expressly asking not to be bothered, but the harsh words were never spoken. If his father had ever hugged him, Hammond had been too young to recall it. Hammond didn't know whether to believe him or not. But you've got to abide by them, or those who aren't so high-minded will leave you choking on their heel dust. Hammond saw the gulf between them yawning wider. Beyond that, I'm good at it. But that B+ in chemistry is unacceptable. The runners you batted in on that triple won the game. Too bad you couldn't have made it a grand slam. That had been the pattern since his childhood. That would make a whole lot more sense if you were the boss. She used that day to catch up on paperwork and personal business. Today was a special Monday. Today she was paying off Bobby Trimble and getting rid of him, she hoped, forever. However, she had learned through experience that Bobby's promises were worthless. Now that Bobby had found her again, it was unlikely he would leave her alone. Sunlight shone in through the windows that overlooked the downstairs piazza and, beyond that, the walled garden which she kept beautifully maintained through all 4 seasons. The blooming plants and flowers that thrived in Charleston's semi-tropical climate were at their peak. Inside were several stacks of currency banded together according to denomination. Her hatred for Bobby Trimble was so intense it frightened her. Unaware of what awaited her, she had blithely answered her ringing doorbell to discover him on her threshold. If I didn't know any better, I'd think you'd been hiding from me all these years. She didn't know whether to believe him or not. Now I'm going to stop because I used to read Patricia Cornwell's, and it sounds like it's the same type of, um, and this is supposed to be a number one New York Times bestseller. But I'm getting bored. I don't know about you. I want to go in How to Mow the Lawn, but we're still in the alibi. So I'm going to take a break. So maybe the next one could be when we come back next week. We could go into Sam Martin. That's actually the name of the book, How to Mow the Lawn. The Lost Art of Being a Man. Now, only on rare occasions it resurfaced in a bad dream, from which she would awaken bathed in sweat and shivering in terror, because that smile was representative of the control he had wielded over her. If I didn't know any better, I'd think you've been hiding from me all these years. She didn't know whether to believe him or not. She had hoped to bring the reunion to a quick close. This is back to that time statement. And I'm thinking, Chris Brown, I can't think of any other thing that I'd rather do when he talks about being from Virginia. I can't think of anything better to do than to waste time with you. So if you call this wasting time and you're wasting time with me, I am humbly grateful that you've chosen to waste your time with me. But we're not wasting time, we're using time with the alibi. Now back to the alibi, and we're still in Monday. I'm not as nice as I used to be. Infuriated by the truth, he removed one of her diplomas from the office wall and hurled it to the floor, splintering the frame and shattering the glass. You had better reconsider and do me this little favor. Terribly Ari. Oh, I'm sorry. So Sandra Brown, it doesn't say anything about it in this particular book. So back to the alibi. Alice's heart plummeted, knowing already what had brought them to her home. Once again, her life was about to be pitched into chaos. But what we may do is may not read the entire book, or we'll see how much that we can get through with that time that we have. So for right now, we're going through 2 o'clock, and that's going to be it for Sandra and the alibi. Or we can move on to how to mow the lawn, but since we've already started this, it's only fair to finish it. Volunteering to be questioned without an attorney present would go a long way toward convincing me that you're innocent of any wrongdoing. I don't believe that for an instant, Detective Swallow. Rarer than that, he was known to be a decent human being with unimpeachable integrity. You've got to be kidding. I'm terribly sorry I interrupted your golf game. And I'm going to stop again because another thing that changed was the co-host situation. So we are hoping to gain in terms of meeting Brad Pitt for this show. So that has been a focus that wasn't mentioned before. Believe me, Frank, I want this to go by the books. I don't want a murderer to be set free on a technicality. Where's the boy wonder? It might be interesting to see if Saint Hammond could demand the death penalty for a beautiful woman. You think she's beautiful? Bobby Trimble breathed deeply in an effort to bring his heart rate under control. So it's like, why Brad Pitt? Why not Denzel Washington? Why not Queen Latifah? Why not Nia Long? Why Brad Pitt? As we go back to the alibi. She spoke better, dressed better. When he accused her of it, she had said, "For the last time, Bobby, I don't have any money to give you." In any event, until he knew for certain what was going on, it would be wise for Bobby Trimble to lay low. The girls, glancing over their bare shoulders, were aware he was following them. He made his way through the crowded restaurant and spotted them seated at a table on the patio beneath the shade of an umbrella, giving their drink order to a waitress. That brought on another round of giggles. And then you always wonder, well, this is this is another pause. If it'll be, if first of all, if you meet the person that you want to meet, and then second of all, if it'll be the actual person, not a lookalike or an impersonator or somebody on their security, but the actual person that you want to meet. So I've tried to contact every show that's out there about meeting Brad Pitt. I tried to contact. I sent a request to Steve Harvey, from Harry Connick Jr. to Ellen to Wendy to The Real. Any show that is open to requests. Rachel Ray, I have submitted a request to meet Brad Pitt. And I'm hoping it won't be, 20 years. But I'm hoping that I will get to meet Brad Pitt. So back to the alibi. And it doesn't seem like we're going to get through the entire thing today. But at least we can finish Monday. Because the initial thing was reading it in terms of script. So what we got so far is that somebody died. petty for it, and that right now they're thinking that it's some woman that's beautiful that did that that did it, and so they're questioning about arresting her or giving the death penalty to her if she did do it. To be on the safe side, he wanted to postpone an inevitable face-to-face meeting for as long as possible. You know, Pettiford, Luke Pettyjohn was the name. And that's Luke with a T, not a K. Luke Pettyjohn. So we'll at least get through Monday. Smiler doesn't like our butting in. He especially dislikes my butting in. She was worried enough to bring Frank Perkins along with her. Reaching the police station, he went up to the second floor and pressed the buzzer on the locked double doors leading into the Criminal Investigations Division. His first impulse was to smooth back the strand of hair that had curled against her cheek. And then there's like some love story going on, so you're wondering if it's the same person that they are suspecting for the murder. I thought you'd be chomping at the bit to get your first crack at the murderer, Stephen said. It remains to be seen whether or not she's a murderess, he said testily. But that's not the point. Now, can we please get down to business? He could barely breathe. But when she turned toward him, their eyes connected. Everything else around him seemed to vanish, and all his focus belonged to her. All this shot through his mind in less time than it took to blink. Hoping his voice wouldn't betray him, he said, Dr. Ladd? If so, upon being introduced now, her green eyes would have widened and she would have blurted out something to the effect of, Why? Hello. You had a drink in the bar. But that only confirms that at least two people saw her in the hotel. I walked back to the parking lot where I left my car. I bought $20 worth. That was the beauty of the day. At approximately 9 o'clock, they were eating corn on the cob that had left their lips greasy with melted butter. I berated myself for not making a reservation on Hilton Head. So I drove back to Charleston and slept in my own bed. I also bought an ice cream cone at the base of the lighthouse, but it's a walk-up place and they were very busy. By then, I was very tired and sleepy. Frank Perkins assisted her from her chair politely, but in such a way that brooked no argument from either her or Smilo. And if you so much as breathe her name to the media in connection with this case, you'll have not only an unsolved murder to contend with, but a staggering lawsuit as well. For the benefit of the others, Smilo said, that detective witnessed the autopsy. Luke Pettyjohn didn't die from the blow to his head. Steffi squeezed lime into the drink that had just been brought to their table. The lobby bar at the Charlestown Plaza was packed to capacity with the happy hour crowd. Two barefoot women wrapped in hotel bathrobes, their hair swathed in towels, giggled as they avoided being caught in a snapshot. I was saying what I've said from the beginning, Smilo explained. It wasn't that long, but to Hammond it was a devastating 4 paragraphs. But that's some of the most expensive real estate in the country. Evidence that was collected, bagged, and labeled by the CSU was usually hand-delivered to SLED by an officer to prevent chain of evidence discrepancies. You have to do better than that to catch a killer, Smilo. Hammond realized that they did indeed have the attention of everyone in the bar. He tossed a $5 bill down on the table to cover his drink. This case is going to be a bitch. You sure that's what's bothering you? Beyond their proximity, the bar and the military kind of worlds apart in every aspect, in every respect. All had seen better days, better decades. Eyelids that were saggy and webbed beyond their years crinkled as she grinned, revealing a lower front tooth in bad need of a dentist's attention. You had every right to be pissed. Wishing the privacy of a booth, Hammond gallantly helped her off the bar stool. The drink she left on the bar hadn't been her first, or even her second. She raised her glass to him before taking a hefty swallow. Fortified by the drink, she turned her attention to Hammond. Or maybe it had been the subject matter that had turned his stomach. When I spoke to Bev, she told me this had become one of your favorite hangouts. The sign had been there a long time. Both the paper and the Scotch tape had yellowed with age. His death had been ruled accidental, but in a boozy, confidential conversation with Hammond, Loretta had confessed her misgivings. It was a small thing, but he had never forgotten her thoughtful boost to his self-confidence. The accused in the case was an angry, incorrigible young man who had almost beaten his mother to death with a tire tool. He was a threat to society and would continue to be until he was put in prison for a long time. Because the staff investigators were already committed to other cases, Hammond brought Loretta in. He later learned that she had used the expense money to binge. The trial judge, who was unsympathetic with Hammond's plight, refused his request for a postponement and ordered him to proceed with what he had, which was a testimony of the battered mother. All these months later, Hammond still hadn't forgiven Loretta for betraying the trust he had placed in her, especially when no one else would hire her. Worst of all, her dereliction had caused the man to suffer a brutal beating that had left him mentally and physically impaired for the rest of his life. When sober, Loretta Booth was the best at what she did. But then he thought about Alex Ladd and realized that he was just that desperate. I may let you down, probably will, but they'd have to cut out my tongue before I would betray your confidence. I believe that. Would you ever want it to come back to you? If it ain't tangible, it ain't evidence. She should not have been working as an armed policewoman, investigating assaults and crimes against persons of dangerous feat under the best of circumstances. Maybe he was jealous of the new protector in his sister's life, or maybe he simply saw Pettyjohn's true colors when everybody else was blind to them. He was so upset. We turned the crime scene over to our backup team, and I drove him. Hammond, she said, shaking her head in disbelief. By the time we got there, she had totally wrecked that house. I honestly believe that if I hadn't been there to wrestle him down, he would have killed Pettyjohn that night. Until the day I die, I believe that's what Rory Smiler holds against me. He broached the idea that Pettyjohn might have been paving her way into Mason's office when he retires. What could she fear more than being accused of murder? But that could change. She wished she could turn back the clock and rewrite the day Bobby Trimble had re-entered her life after 20 years of freedom from him. But that would mean also deleting her night with him and Cross. She never had a birthday cake or an Easter basket or a Halloween costume. By the time her practice was established, her energy had been devoted to it. If you're bringing the heat on me, so help me God out. The other was wrapped in a sheet that Alex assumed had been stripped from the bed. We've got business to settle. Don't I have a right to be? Where did you buy the dope? I didn't have to buy it. He hadn't believed her yesterday. He wasn't going to believe her now. She just wanted to be rid of him. I warned you to be careful. Do you honestly believe that you can get rid of me just because you want to, Alex? I'll be there. Hammond switched on the bedside lamp, bathed in the pastel striped walls with a warm glow. The room was spacious and laid out to be user-friendly. Behind the doors of the French armoire was a 27-inch TV, larger than standard hotel-motel issue, and equipped with a VCR. He moved into the bathroom. A small silver basket on the marble dressing table still contained bottles of shampoo and other grooming products, a miniature sewing kit, a shoe sign cloth, a shower cap. Well, I guess the VCR, when this was written. The bedroom had its own minibar in addition to the one in the parlor. He had left the Shady Rest Lounge with the intention of going home and putting an end to this terrible Monday. He would rather believe that than entertain the idea of her being the murderer, although neither was a cheery prospect. He hadn't gone beyond the parlor, hadn't really gone far beyond the threshold. Hanging with the belt still tied with a fluffy white terry cloth robe. Smiley turned back into the parlor and Hammond followed. The detective stood over the bloodstain on the floor. Something's been bothering me, Hammond said after a time. Turn down service wasn't scheduled to begin until after 6. Smiley held his stare for a 10 count, but, refusing to be provoked, nodded toward the door to the suite. And that was Monday. And we're going to stop it there and just vibe for a minute. So that was Sandra Brown, The Alibi. We read part of it Saturday and Sunday yesterday, and then Monday today. So why Brad Pitt? This is a question that I'm interested in finding out. Why Brad Pitt? Because it's back to the show being very IG based, which I kind of had to take a back seat in because it could be argued that it's my opinion. But anyway, because Brad Pitt in the show that we stand for, we're thinking that Brad Pitt would be a good example for who we are and for the show. He did 7 years in Tibet. He did the movie Seven. And again, the security relevancy of 7 years in Tibet, the security relevancy of Seven. So he's been doing the security relevancy of 12 years a slave is why, not so much the story. We have time to go into and try to finish up Tuesday, but I think we're going to stop here. So this has been the Late Late Show with BT. Bye.